We had 6 dedications of private infrastructure that we discussed, and we approved the acceptance of all of those. The water production report was a good report. The one thing we do want to get more capacity out of, figure out how to get more capacity out of the Fletsy tank and well. So we're going to be looking into that and just seeing where we can use that more to help beef up the system in that area. Water pollution control plant flows. I think one day we had over 6 inches of rain, Andrew, and it's tough for a plant when you have that much rain. So,
it was my birthday. It was not a good birthday.
We had a lot of flow at Academy Creek, and we did have we were a little high on our BOD, and we had at the same time, Nova decided to dump a lot of stuff that they'd been storing. So that created where we messed up on our ammonia limits. But other than that, the plants did good, and things are going ahead. On the capital project report, we have how many more meters? 180 meters left to go. Those are the most difficult ones. They're in concrete and things like that, but the meter project has been a very successful project. That's my report, and I'd like for Commissioner Stevens to give the finance report, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In addition to hearing the same 2 contract awards from the financial perspective, we also had a review of an annual contract for ESRI, which is our vendor that provides us with GIS, which is a very important a tool that we use to locate pipes in the ground. And then we had a approval of a capital piece of equipment, a trailer-mounted sewer jetter that would get into smaller places where our big jet machines can't get, or our big trucks can't get. And then finally, we had a presentation of the annual audit from the annual audit committee. Mr. Trey Scott from Maulding and Jenkins came in and gave a presentation. He was very complimentary of the staff we have in the finance shop here. He was very complimentary of how easy they are to work with, how transparent they are, and ultimately he gave us a clean audit for the 5th year in a row. So great work in that part of the business.
Thank you, Commissioner Stevens. We'll move to the approval section. The first item is minutes from the September 21st, 2023 commission meeting. We'll have a motion to accept those minutes.
I'll make a motion that the minutes be approved as presented.
A motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is fiscal year 2022-2023 financial audit presentation / acceptance. Mr. Owens.
Good afternoon, everyone. As Commissioner Stevens indicated yesterday at the Finance Committee meeting, Trey Scott, the lead partner for our audit, presented this year's findings. We had a clean opinion, no comments. It was a unqualified opinion. No comments regarding management, communications, or notes, anything like that. Some of the highlights from the audit: $16.8 million increase in assets this past year, $12.7 million increase to net book value. Our liabilities increased $5.6 million, largely from GFA draw. Our revenues increased $1.7 million to $38.1 million. Expenses also increased. That increase was $3.1 million to $29.8, and resulting in a decrease of net operating income to $8.3 million. But overall, things are looking good for us. Fortunately, our increase in revenue is offsetting the increase in costs that we're seeing across everything, really. We are required to have this audit annually, and the operational agreement requires that the audit be completed by October 15th. We did meet that deadline. Maulding and Jenkins, as I indicated, issued their unqualified opinion for the year ending June 30th, 2023, and Mr. Scott presented those findings yesterday. At this time, we're asking the full commission to accept the audited financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023, and authorize its release to the public and reporting agencies.
Can I have a motion to do that?
Chairman, I'll move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission accept the audited financial report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2023, and authorize its release to the public and reporting agencies.
Second.
Motion and second. Any questions?
I think something of note yesterday we heard from the auditors is this is the 5th year in a row that we've had a completely clean audit. And my understanding from working in government many years is that's pretty much unheard of. It's not the ordinary, and it's very much something to be very proud of. And I just want to be sure that our staff here is aware of that. We aware that their efforts and how they pay off, and how much things are done according to standards. And looks great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else? There's a motion and second. All in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is contract award Canal Road Water Production Facility. Mr. Burrows?
Yes, sir. We operate the Canal Road well off of Harry Driggers Boulevard, just north of the intersection of Harry Driggers and Glencoe, adjacent to where the new intersection improvement roundabout will be installed by Glynn County. We did a very similar project to this in 2019 and 2020 at the Ridgewood well on Perry Lane Road, and at that point the cost to complete the project was $1.43 million. We received bids in early September, and the apparent low bidder for the project was Reeves Young at $5,496,000. That is, of course, significantly above where we were at. It's above the total budget we set back in 2021, and is above the engineer's opinion of probable cost from May, which was $3.77 million. So if with this project is awarded, we will take the balance of funds from the R&R reserve. At the September Facilities Committee meeting, the committee recommended negotiating with a low bidder to determine where we could achieve savings. The engineer, Thompson Hutton, has worked with Reeves Young to determine where that may be possible. After discussion yesterday with the Facilities and Finance Committee, we are recommending awarding this contract with a reduced scope of work that involves reducing the ground storage tank from 300,000 gallons to 250,000 gallons, removing a permanent standby generator but making provisions for a portable connection, and replacing fiberglass doors with hollowed metal doors where appropriate. The total cost savings of these items is in excess of $400,000. So the cost without these items included is $5,167,000 even. So the staff's recommendation is to award at that cost.
We have a motion.
I'll move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water Sewer Commission award a contract to Reeves Young in the amount of $5,167,000 for the construction of Canal Road Water Production Facility, with a reduced scope work to include replacing the FRP doors with metal doors in non-critical areas, removing the generator, and reducing the size of the ground storage tank to 250,000 gallons.
Second. There's a motion and second. Any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Burrows, yesterday we didn't have some of this documentation for numbers. So one thing that jumps out at me is we've got a credit of $311,000 for the deletion of the emergency generator, but on the actual bid form, the generator is $389,000.
Yes, because we're maintaining the transfer switch and including a quick connection box to hook up the portable generator, and there's a slab incorporated with that, so that's all inclusive of the generator, and we're just removing the actual physical generator portion of that.
Okay, so none of that was included in the electrical work. That's the next line item.
That's correct.
This
Yeah.
well
Go ahead.
This well facility is really necessary in that area because of all the growth that's occurring. And right now, they're served with 2 Miocene wells. And the Miocene water quality is not the quality that the Upper Floridian is. And this well is in the Upper Floridian. So it's going to really beef up the water capacity in that area. It's an expensive project. It's a lot more expensive than we thought. But it's a project that we need really bad. And,
How does that location of that
coincide with the proposed construction of the roundabout that's gonna be in that area.
Essentially, what we're talking about doing is when the roundabout is put in place, Harry Driggers will then flip to the other side of our existing facility. So that's all been incorporated with Glynn County, so we're taking that into account. And it's a good time to do it before they come in and do the intersection improvements and we have an increase in our cost as a result, which is remarkable considering how much it's costing in right now.
Is the roundabout finalized as far as the location of it?
Location, yes. The engineering's not complete quite yet, but it's closer now than it was. Not as close as it should have been, but there's been several shiftings and, but the property that was needed has been acquired and it's on the board.
And if there's any concerns about construction practices, this well is directly across the street from the EPD's office, so they will make sure it's done very successfully.
Yeah.
I said it last month, and the same thing. I 100% agree we need this in the community. It's just, a 400% cost increase in less than 3 years. That's well over 100% a year, in cost increase. And I just can't help but think that, there's some opportunity for better efficiencies here. I know we went back to this contractor and said, hey, can you give us a better deal if we do too? And they said no, but the bid form that we used, just using the generator thing, that's an example. The bid form is not really set up. The way they put their numbers in there is not set up necessarily for transparency to be able to do things like delete a generator and know that that's the actual cost, because there's all these blended things in there. And I'm a firm believer in big projects like this, having something that's a line item like a generator be truly a line item to buy the generator, not to install it, and have that, have that as a separate line item so that you understand what the, what the deductions can be. I just can't help but believe that, there's opportunity to go back to the well and, cut this cost, no pun intended on going back to the well, but go back to the well and, cut some costs here and not have a 400% increase in 3 years. That's just hard to swallow.
Is that increase due to lack of response in bidding? Bidders are,
I think it's a combination. Some of it is, we got 2 bids and they were both large contractors that bid this work. And neither one of them are local contractors. So of course that can increase your costs because they're having to pay per diem and things like that. Material costs have went up. For example, the ground storage tank is double what it was at the Ridgewood well site.
It only accounts for,
yeah,
Right, I'm just saying, but just as an example, that was double already.
and we're all aware of, post-COVID inflation, but 400%, is even excessive for that.
especially when one big line item is only double. So you got a really big line item that's 100% inflation,
Yeah.
but the total is 400% inflation. That means other things are inflated, by definition,
Yeah.
more in order to keep up.
Every project around the entire state is coming way over budget. At least twice, and sometimes 3 and 4 times.
Yeah.
Because there's so much work out there. The government puts so much money into this industry right now. And then in this area, it's hurt even worse because of what's going on with the Hyundai facility up in Pooler. So there's a shortage of contractors, and then they have trouble getting materials. And when we bid projects, everybody is not getting many bids at all.
Right.
Now,
And we're running in the same thing with the county. Sure. It's, and you expect, it's sad to say, you expect 50 to 60% inflation, but you don't expect 400%.
One thing we're starting to do more going forward, particularly on larger projects, is look at non-traditional design bid build projects and doing what's collaborative delivery projects, and that gets a contractor involved much earlier in the process, and they can make suggestions on ways to the engineer and us of designing it that will lower their cost to construct. So that we're looking at moving forward with a lot of those type projects. We've had 2 lunch and learns here for staff, and then me and Ms. Crosby are actually going tomorrow to a seminar in Atlanta to further educate ourselves on how to do that. So that's something we're looking at, and hopeful that that will eliminate some of the cost exceedances we're seeing.
And just thinking back to the last time, and I'm trying to find it on here, 1,200 square foot, basically building. I mean, this is the building itself. I mean, and I assume that this is accurate because that's what the paper says, but, they got electrical work for the building in another location. So if you add the electrical for the building itself, and the way I read this, that's not the electrical for the SCADA and all that other stuff, it's the electrical for the building. And the building itself, a 1,200 square foot building, is over $1 million. I mean, basically the building for this well is almost 2/3 of the cost of the other one, complete well. And I just look at these, and I can't help but think there's somewhere on here that we can go back to the well. I keep saying that, I don't mean that as a pun, and go back and say, maybe we do need to look at the alternative project delivery. Maybe we need to do look at some of these other things. Because to your point, the 300,000 gallon tank is double the price. Well, that's, that was half of the original scope. So half of the original scope is double. Then the rest of it's got to be up 800% to make the total up 400%. I'm doing napkin math there, but just, can't help but think there's some opportunities to go back and look at alternative project delivery and cut significantly off of this. And if it wasn't 400% over budget, it wasn't a $5.5 million project that basically eats up our entire project budget for the year. If this was $100,000 over bid, I'd say, hey, time's of the essence. But maybe we need to pause on the timing in order to refine these numbers.
The option we have is just to not accept any bids and just rebid it at a later date. We're going to have a similar facility down at Southport. It could be bid when that's being bid, but that's going to be the same engineers designing it, and I'm not sure when it's going to be, but it got the contract to design it. It took 3 years, I think.
2 years, yes. The other one should not take 2 years. We've been committed that that's not going to happen.
So, I mean, and there's a possibility, but I mean, you're throwing the dice.
Yeah.
Are you going to get that or not?
And if you delay it and the inflation continues, then the price continues to go up unless you can find a different way. One of the things that we're looking at the county is breaking the contract out and don't make it all inclusive with one contractor and put everything under one contract, because for the electrical, they sub that out. Whatever that electrical contract bids, he's got his profit on it, then the general contractor is adding another profit on top of that. And you do that with 8 or 10 different trades, and in the cost of the project, it becomes, the alternative to that means we've got to have a project manager or a project superintendent on that project. But even if you had $100,000 a year project superintendent, if you're saving over $1 million by breaking it out, it's things to look at, and that's what we're all doing, is trying to look at alternative methods to reduce cost. But
And that's kind of what I've been saying along those lines. I mean, for example, there's got to be significant markup in here for that building, and it would not be difficult. It might be difficult to say, hey, you're going to set the pipe and you're going to put the pump in the pipe, but it would not be difficult to say, we're going to build a building, have this thing, shelled out with a core and shell contractor, and then y'all come in and do the finished work and the piping. And again, that's $707,000 for 1,200 square foot building. That's I think it's concrete.
720 is $600 a foot.
Yes, CMU.
If it was 720,000 on 12, that'd be $600 a foot.
600 for an unfinished building. I mean, when you're building a house or you're building commercial, you got pipes and plumbing and fixtures and all kind of nice fancy upgrades and finishes and all. And this is just a concrete building. That's I understand there's the engineering time associated with that, but maybe we go back to the engineer and say, hey, how did you design this thing? Maybe it could be a prefabbed concrete building or just a steel building. I mean, it's just holding a well. I mean, it's just the only purpose of building, my understanding, is security and weather protection, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir.
I mean, why can't it just be a steel frame building?
We approached them about a steel building, and the response was it would not be significant savings. The contract.
Yeah, but I mean, that's.
We wrestled with this finance committee last month and then this month, and I've kind of tried to step back and try to think about the positives and the negatives. And what I'm most concerned about is that we plan for the future for this utility. And I think that's one of our main obligations here. We need to be sure that all this new building is coming up in the north end, that we can't say to people, oh, sorry, we don't have enough water for you, or we can't take care of your wastewater. So we need to do some planning, and the investments we make now will pay off in the future as our community grows. And I think we need to be aware of that also. And I'm agreeing with the chairman. I don't know. I think it's a roll of the dice. I think if we wait a year, maybe it's going to be, $6 million, or maybe it's going to be $7 million. We don't know. We know there's a lot of money in the pipeline now, and that's going to run till 2026. And this is all this government from after COVID, the money's coming, and it's flowing, and there's a lot of contractors that are busy and don't need a lot of work. So we have to make a decision about that as a board and for the future of the utility. And I think we need to move forward with the project. I think we need to be sure that when they build those homes up off of exit 99, that we have plenty of resources for people. Mr. Burrows, just give me a sense to plan and build a wastewater treatment plant. What kind of time frame is it?
4 years.
4 years. Okay, so we're running on a timeline for the future here.
This isn't wastewater though, this is.
No, I'm just saying as an example. So, I mean, even this project alone, how long is
It's
the
a 12-month contract to construct.
12 months? Yeah. I mean, we're lucky the well's already there. I mean, and it's a suitable well, the one we want. So, and that eliminates that cost because that was already done before. I'm sure very inexpensively compared to today. But I think we need to go ahead and make sure that our customers get the kind of services they deserve. And that's one of our obligations here as a commission.
And if we were looking at 8% inflation a year, I'd be saying, hey, 8% the last 4 years, maybe it's gonna go 8% again. I mean, the future value money is gonna cost us money if we don't do it now. 400%, that's over 100% a year.
Well, but what I'm seeing is all the indicators say the costs aren't gonna come down. Even as the supply chains are restocking themselves, there's no indication that they're gonna lower the price because the manufacturers, the suppliers, the contractors, the vendors, all of them up and down the chain have realized that they can do less and with less manpower and make more money on the bottom line, and they've got no incentive to change. And I agree. As hard a pill as this is to take, I think that delaying it will end up costing us more money.
Every inflationary period that we've encountered in this industry for the last 40 years, once it's hit the high price, it never comes back down.
Yeah.
And if we were buying widgets, I would 100% agree with that. I guess the only where I differ on that is whether this is a true cost of inflation or if there's something else, going on. I certainly don't mean anything falsely. I just mean that, maybe there's opportunities to do things a little different and have a better price. You're not going to convince me that concrete building was a $700,000 building because of inflation. There's there's opportunities to do things differently there, and you're not going to convince me that building a building, how big is this room? Approximately the size of this room? I haven't measured it. Is a $700,000 building just for the core and shell. I mean, that's one slab, 4 walls, and a roof. There's no electrical in that. There's no mechanical in that. There's no piping in that. There's nothing but a core and shell. So I can't help but believe if we went back to the contractor and said, fine, take that $700,000 line item out. We'll provide you with a building, and then you put your well in it. That we wouldn't have the opportunity for several $100,000 worth of savings. And I believe that's the case with other line items. So I'm not against the project at all. I just think that we ought to, get creative because to your point, we owe it to the community to make sure that we're doing projects. But we also owe it to the community to make sure that we can sustain to do projects in the future. And if we spend all of our money in year one, doing projects that we could have got more efficiently, and maybe we can't. But do we not owe it ourselves to spend 30 days, 60 days trying to do that?
Andrew, which well is more important, this one or the one down at Southport?
Probably the one down at Southport because it has the elevated tank associated with it. From a well
If we put the
perspective, this
tank
well
up,
would be
is
more
it-
important, but the elevated tank being involved in Southport is more important for pressure situations.
The elevated tank.
The elevated tank down there, yes, sir. Now, this well,
We're gonna have an elevated tank up here too.
right, it's a separate project, correct. From
As
a-
a separate project?
But that would also help reduce the need for this well.
That's correct.
But how far out is it?
Average daily use. And tell us the status of the big development up there. Is it moving?
Yes, sir. There, you may have read in the newspaper, there's about, I think it's like 1,200 acre development that's going on, or 1,200 home development going on up at exit 42, and of course additional development down Highway 99. This number has been said repeatedly, there's approximately 5,000 residential units currently under planning on Highway 99 right now. Plus, that doesn't include at least two, if not three subdivisions on Harry Driggers.
And Bucky's.
And Bucky's. So, you know, we've got some needs. We're building an elevated storage tank out there on the what was formerly part of the Gateway track. We're completing that design in-house. It should be out for bid in the next couple of months, but that's about an 18-month construction as well once that is released. So, from a capacity perspective today, we do not have to have this well, but it is prudent planning for the future. We can continue to operate without it and try some of the methods that Commissioner Stevens suggested. But I think at the end of the day, if we parceled it out, we could do that, but I'm not sure this contractor is going to be interested in providing the services in a piecemeal manner.
We won't be able to negotiate with this contractor because he left $2 million on the table. The next bid was $7 million.
Yeah,
So, I mean,
and he's aware of that bid.
yeah,
So,
yeah. So
guess
the
what Southport
alternative-
bid's gonna be.
The same thing, the alternative is just to redesign
Well-
it and put it out for bids again sometime in the future.
Yeah, and I'll stand behind my second on the motion, but I believe that moving forward, especially with the Southport, it's coming, right?
Yes.
That we break that down and look at alternative ways to bid it. We'll just, my opinion is, we eat the cost on this and try to prepare to protect ourselves against this.
Well, at the very least on the Southport well, since there is an elevated tank associated with it, that will be bid separately because those are completely different contractors that are involved with the construction of that.
But looking at how we do our RFPs to break out these things and don't, for convenience of construction and lack of day-to-day supervision, that we don't just pay someone profit on top of profit on top of profit to provide a service.
And that's why I like what y'all are trying with the county. We've had to do that ourselves sometimes, and I think there's opportunity for that here.
Any other questions, comments?
We're expecting just a ballpark estimate of 5,000 new homes in that area, and this well supports that. And this is just off the top of my head now. An average $66 a month bill for 5,000 residential customers. It's like $300+ thousand a month, and it comes to just a little bit shy of $4 million per year. It's one thing I've noticed about projects. All of our projects have a cost breakdown, but I've never seen associated revenues with them, which is something I experienced in corporate America when I was with Georgia Pacific, that do net present value calculations on projects, factoring in costs and expected either savings or revenue, et cetera, so on. So just to throw it out there, it's not 100% in the vacuum. Obviously, I agree with everything that was said about, we're seeing obscene cost increases, but we will see increased revenues with these projects as well.
If I heard you correctly, the revenue numbers you threw out included the sewer
That
portion,
includes sewer as well.
which is the majority of where our operation costs are. Operating costs are.
Yeah. So water revenue off that would be about a third of it.
Well,
Any other
and
comments?
Just food for thought.
yeah, this contractor doesn't operate in a vacuum either. Any other bid that we get, those contractors know current market, and the shortage of labor pool and the abundance of projects is what's driving the cost. And I imagine his profits would be embarrassing if they were disclosed in the project. But at the same time, it is the world we live in today, and post-COVID America is reeling from this.
I will say,
spiral.
when you talk labor shortages, we've been told by multiple contractors, particularly those out-of-town contractors, they typically try to find local help, and they have been completely unsuccessful in doing that in our area. So I know, for example, in the Academy Creek project, Ruby Collins, the contractor, was having to bring their crews out of Atlanta and pay hotel rates and per diem to send crews down here for basic laborer type positions because they could not find local help in that market. And so the labor costs on the projects that they're doing here are substantially higher than what they're seeing in other areas.
And that's all the more reason to me to take a pause, take $1 million of the physical building out. There's nothing but a building. That's the building and the electrical for the building. Take our 375,000 of it. I mean, I'm sorry, 975,000 of it out of this, and say, hey guys, we're going to provide you a finished building, and have a local contractor build it, so these people aren't having to speculate what a Atlanta contractor come down here and build a 1,200 square foot building for. That again has no finishes, has nothing but 4 walls, a roof, and a concrete slab.
But you do run the risk of this contractor pulling out if we start taking substantial segments of contract out, and any local contractor is making more today than he was pre-COVID on percentage profit. So I don't know, to break it down, do all that, have the delays of trying to rescope the work, and if, you know, if we knew that we could save $1 million, that'd be great. But if it turned out that we do all that and we only save a couple of $100,000, is crazy as saying only a couple of hundred, I don't know if cost benefit would come back to us. So
Certainly, whichever direction the board would like to take this, staff will be happy to execute however y'all see fit. We're willing to make it work whichever way.
And like Andrew has told us before, we've already thrown out several bids we've taken in the past because we've been over budget. And if we keep doing that, pretty soon we won't have any bidders bidding our projects.
and that's very valid.
So it's a necessary project. It is more expensive than we thought it was going to be, but it's a very good project. And yes, we could nickel and dime it, and nickel and dime it. I mean, that's like going to
We
the well.
could
but,
100 and 200,000.
Yeah, right.
but the contractor's not set up to pull out different things just because he has a breakout like that. Now, we're going to work with the engineer on the next project, and we're going to have those items broken out. And down there, we might not even need a building because we got the control building for the wastewater plant. So there's a lot of things we can eliminate.
We definitely won't need a generator.
So anyway, the biggest problem down there, I think, is getting the tank anyway.
The elevated tank's gonna be the biggest concern.
So, but see, the tanks are going up, and the tanks now, we will only get 2 or 3 bidders at the most, because that's all the contractors in the United States. Any other questions, comments? Okay, we
Appreciate your indulgence in the discussion of it.
motion second. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-1. Thank you very much. Next item is contract award Mary Ross Park Water Main Extension. Mr. Burrs.
Yes, sir. The city of Brunswick owns and operates Mary Ross Waterfront Park, and they have a current project underway that includes some infrastructure relocation and storm drainage work to facilitate some park improvements. J.H. Stone Construction has been contracted by the city to perform the infrastructure work on site. We own and maintain the water and sewer infrastructure at Mary Ross Park outside of the scope of the city project. We saw an opportunity, or better yet, our distribution crew, who was always looking for ways to improve our system, saw an opportunity to improve the service quality and infrastructure at Mary Ross Park and limit the interruptions to the public while the work was going on. What this will do would be to loop 2 existing 6-inch water mains that run parallel to the park on the north and south ends of the park, and eliminate 2 dead-end lines that are connected currently by a very overgrown galvanized line. This will improve water pressure and enable staff to eliminate approximately 400 feet of existing 4-inch cast iron water main and 2-inch galvanized water main. We got a quote from J.H. Stone to perform the water work, and the quote is $29,280. We will be providing materials for this project. J.H. Stone is providing labor and the materials for 40 feet of 6-inch HDPE pipe that will be trenchlessly installed. This will be funded out of the galvanized water main project, which has an available balance of $311,000.
Have a motion?
I'll take that one. I move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission enter into the contract with J.H. Stone Construction in the amount of $29,280 for water main improvements at Mary Ross Waterfront Park.
Second.
Second. A motion and a second. Any questions, comments?
The galvanized pipe that's we're replacing all along the waterfront there, do you have a sense of how old that is?
Those galvanized pipes would have been installed in the 50s and 60s, so
And it's right at the waterfront.
right at the waterfront. And if you know anything about galvanized pipe and salt, they don't like each other.
So it's likely that it really is essentially two dead ends right there. Where
Absolutely. There's very little water, if any water, moving between those lines. And once he snatches it out of the ground, we'll bring you a sample back of what that galvanized line
I'd like to see that. That
Yes, sir.
certainly would be interesting. And the problem with dead ends is the water sits in
Water
the end
sits
there.
there, and then you lose chlorine because the water's not moving.
Right. So this will improve the system overall. A good look from from our operating crews out there. So.
Any other questions? If none, all in favor? Carries 7-0. Thank you. Next item is dedication of private infrastructure and easements. Mr. Klein?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, good afternoon. This item is a group of 6 easement and/or infrastructure dedications, and I'll walk quickly through what these are. The first one is Town Square, which is a residential development on the north end, or north of the mall on Chapel Crossing Road. First item is an easement. The easement is to accommodate the infrastructure, the water infrastructure in particular, on item number 2. And number 3 is a low-pressure force main addition that was part of a residential development on St. Simon's Island on Reynoso, between 232 and 234 Reynoso. Item number 4 is a commercial development known as H&H Warehouse off of Haversham that is dedication of just a little bit of water line to make the connection for their potable and their fire line to cross the road, then also a segment of low-pressure force main to connect to the sewer system. Item number 4 is Canal Crossing Connector, which is a commercial development there. A new road is being constructed through the parcels, and it is a little bit of water and a little bit of sewer and the associated easements with that to accommodate the developments. And item number 6 is on Old Seaside, which is a development on the south end of St. Simon's Island near the retreat. And I can pull up details if necessary to show the exact infrastructure, if there's interest in that. Currently, Glynn County's GIS system is down, so I'm not able to pull up GIS, but I can do my best to accommodate if there's particular questions.
Were they hit by a fiber contractor this morning?
No fiber, but I believe there was an attack of sorts,
Okay.
what I'm told.
Explain exactly to the full commission what this is, where these are lines being put in developments.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Property that easements for.
Right. So the majority of what you see we bring before you in these items is generated by private development work. Typically, there's a development of some sort that goes in. That private developer has to install some infrastructure to tie onto the public water and sewer system. If that infrastructure ends up being in the public right-of-way, it's pretty much an automatic that it's going to be dedicated to joint water. If it's going to be on private property, in the intent, we'll have multiple customers on that parcel. Generally, it's going to have an associated easement to give the Joint Water and Sewer Commission access, perpetual access, to own and maintain it. So these items here are not, it's infrastructure that's constructed, funded by others, and then dedicated to us to grow our system.
And
add
inspected by
customers.
us.
Correct, yes, yeah.
So we maintain it from now on, right?
If the board accepts the dedication, that's correct.
These are private streets. These are private streets.
In items 1 and 2, Town Square, those, the development was originally approved during the review process with public right-of-ways. About halfway through, the developer chose to maintain those as private right-of-ways, not dedicated to the county. When that happened, for the public ownership of the water infrastructure within, requires an easement now. So that's why there's an associated easement with that. Private streets with an easement.
If the infrastructure is accepted today, it begins a warranty period.
Correct. There's a 2-year, 24-month warranty period for privately constructed infrastructure that's dedicated.
Could you go over to number 2 on the Town Square Phase 2?
Yes.
'Cause, you know, one of the things I want to point out, and which really caught my attention yesterday during the meeting, is if you look at the value, it was right on that, right,
Oh,
it's
I'm
right in
sorry.
our packet here.
Okay.
So you could go back to where you were. We back, yeah, go scroll down to Town Square Phase 2. Oh, you,
Just the,
Yeah.
in the memo, within the memo?
yeah, keep going up. Yeah, right there.
Okay.
No, the one down below it, I'm sorry.
Infrastructure
And,
itself.
you know, we were talking about cost, and if you look at the value of this 4,000 feet of water main, $291,000. So it's good to know that everyone's got the same issue with costs going up, because that's certainly a lot. That's like $70 a linear foot. And that's a lot of money for pipe. That's, of course, a value for our utility, but I mean, I'm sure it costs the contractor an awful lot of money to put that in. So the costs are going up everywhere, so, and we benefit from it because we're getting the infrastructure.
Now, it's not 400%, but I remember 2019, we were putting in 8-inch water main for $37 a foot, so.
This is an installation cost, so this is what the value of the dedication to us is.
It includes installation and the cost of materials.
Right, but I mean, it's not like we're going and auditing their costs. It's
Right.
Oh, no, yeah.
No,
I mean,
but that goes on our records
Right, I know, but I mean, it's an arbitrary number.
well,
as an estimate.
Is estimate from the engineer of record, is that correct? Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
The one on Old Seaside, I rode down that road today.
Yes, sir.
Every one of those houses have been built.
They are,
It's
right.
a mess. You can't even see they are. How are we protecting the water line, since it's our water line? I assume there's some hydrants there, but I didn't see any, because so much work's going on. How do we do that when this is going on like this?
How do we do it? By exception when they call if there's a damage, and then we do a final walkthrough inspection following construction to confirm that there's been no damage to our infrastructure.
We've got two lines, a 4-inch and a 6-inch line, right?
Parallel lines were constructed back years ago, 4-inch and an 8-inch.
On the sewer side, if there's sewer infrastructure, you're required to post CCTV all the infrastructure to confirm you haven't damaged any sewer infrastructure.
Do we know what houses are connected to the 4-inch and which ones are connected to the 6-inch?
I believe we do. I wish I could pull up GIS, but it'll show which ones are connected to, yes.
With their loop, it's essentially a supply and return just to keep water moving.
Oh, it's not looped.
It's not looped.
They're just long dead-end lines.
Oh, wow.
I think the 4-inch line was probably put in a long time ago to serve the two houses at the end.
That's probably what happened.
So lot 8 gets the dead end. Is that it?
Goes the other direction.
Oh, okay. Oh, the other end? Okay. So lot 1 gets the dead end. All right. The bigger lot.
So Todd, they're not looped, it's not looped anyplace. Couldn't we
No,
request
sir.
the owner to do that?
Sir?
Couldn't we request the owner of the roads to do that?
You could.
To connect those two lines?
Oh, to connect the two lines?
As a condition of our acceptance?
Certainly could ask.
We gotta
Well,
maintain it.
with that being said, the person who's dedicating this easement does not own this line.
Correct. So just to
Just keep that in mind.
be clear, this is an easement only over the the
Okay.
commission, forgive, the commission
Okay,
already understood
okay.
this, but this is an existing, the 4 and the 8 are pre-existing lines.
We've already accepted those.
Yeah, those have been in the ground for some time, but this is just an easement. Now that these lots are being developed, and they're no longer Sea Island or others, owned by others,
Okay.
individually owned now, we saw the need to get easements across these properties.
Any other questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0.
Thank you.
Next item is ESRI/GIS annual renewal. Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir, and Mr. Klein is here to answer any specific questions about this today.
Dana?
However, we use GIS systems for understanding where our assets are, helps with our asset management so we have detailed records, and also all of our work order systems are based through GIS. ESRI, Enterprise Systems Research Institute, is a provider of GIS software, and we purchase licenses from them for their software, data, web services, and documentation. Previously, in 2012, we entered into a multi-jurisdictional enterprise license agreement with Glynn County for access to their GIS system, and we were paying an annual fee of $7,000 to Glynn County. Last fall, we were notified that ESRI had changed the way they were charging for their software, and that Glynn County and Joint Water and Sewer would be treated as separate customers, and they were not going to allow us to have a multi-jurisdictional license anymore. And these are based on population and customers. So during our budget season, we knew about this, and we were provided the cost, and so this was included in the updated budget. So the cost per year for GIS services and licenses is $28,400. Apparently 400% is the word of the day, but this one, of course, is less money on the annual. It would cost us substantially more than $28,000 to change GIS providers. So this is a 3-year agreement for that rate of $28,400, and then depending on growth, I don't believe we'll be at 50,000 customers by the end of 3 years, but we can hope. So we should get a very similar renewal in 3 years.
Will it still integrate with the counties though? As
Yeah,
the county makes,
it's all hosted on the county's software and servers and
well, then
everything.
they just basically are using this opportunity to say y'all are a different entity. You got to pay your full fee versus.
That's
the
correct. That is
Sure.
correct.
Not that it went up really. It's just more of a. We're no longer getting a rider from the counties. We're on
Yeah.
standalone.
That is correct. Yes, sir.
We'll let you know from an IT perspective, since I work for a city, that this is a tradition with this company.
Yes.
And they have everybody right where they want them. They're pretty much is limited to their software. And no one really looks at changing. So it's been ongoing for a number of years, so.
But it's a huge benefit to have it, though.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can't replace it. And the competitors are not up to standard, not up to the same standard at all.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Finance Committee recommend the full commission approve.
Hang on, we got the wrong motion on there, so just a full commission. My apologies.
All right. I move that the commission approve the execution of enterprise license agreement with ESRI for a 3-year period effective November 1, 2023.
Yes, we have a motion and a second. Any questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Motion carries 7-0. Next item is capital equipment purchase. Mr. Burris?
Yes, sir. We utilize, as Commissioner Stevens mentioned from the Finance Committee update, we utilize VACCon trucks to do mainline cleanings and vacuum procedures. However, we also utilize what's known as a trailer-mounted jetter to get into areas typically that we cannot get in large equipment like our VACCons due to either size limitations or weight restrictions in the area. We also are able to jet smaller diameter lines, in particular 4-inch laterals coming from houses with this piece of equipment rather than using the much larger jetter trucks that we have. So this was an approved capital item in the budget with a budget included of $75,000. We went and got quotes. Jet Vac Equipment Company is a Sourcewell contract that all government providers can utilize, and the lowest cost for this was from them through the Harbin jetter model, $75,063.45. Our existing trailer-mounted jetter has failed and is having significant issues building pressure, and it's hard to jet lines if you can't build pressure up in the short term. So The request is that we approve this purchase, which will be the final capital purchase for this fiscal year.
Can I have a motion?
I'll move we approve. I lost the motion.
Oh, I'll move that the Brunswick-Glynn Joint Water and Sewer Commission approve the purchase of a Harbin DTK 375 E180 trailer-mounted sewer jetter from Jet Vac Equipment Company LLC in the amount of $73,063.45.
75.
75.
I'm sorry, $75,063.45.
Second.
Get it.
Second. Any other questions?
One thing is, note there, this is under a contract that is exclusive for government, and it's significantly reduced from the somewhat private company would pay.
It's a way for government entities to bundle purchasing power together to get better prices.
Do that on Wells.
We're trying. We're trying.
Dog with a bone.
Yes.
Vote on that yet?
We're
All in
ready.
favor, raise your right hand. Motion carries 7-0. Executive Director's update.
Yes, sir. Well, Mr. Valancourt kind of kicked off one of my updates here. That project has started off. Valancourt Construction is a new contractor for us, and they've been on site for about a week now. The road is closed. That was put out a couple weeks ago that the road of section of Bailey Road in between Perry Lane and Old Jessup is closed. But all reports from staff is that project has kicked off very well. We're pleased with the efforts they're providing and looking forward to seeing how that project continues forward. We also today kicked off the Pump Station 4044 rehab project right there on the side of Altama Connector. So that has started well. And then the Crispin 341 job, I'm very pleased to announce that job is not complete on top of the ground. However, the pipe has been lined, the manholes have been lined, and they should be breaking down bypass either today or tomorrow. And then hopefully it is scheduled to pave that section of Crispin and 341 Wednesday of next week, which, if that's possible, means we get it done before Georgia-Florida traffic picks up. So,
Can you give us a quick overview on ARCO too, where we stand on that?
yes, sir. We're working with our contractor in ARCO, potentially relocating some of the design lines that have not been installed yet into some of the unopened alleyways behind people's houses. It will be a little more upfront work to clear out some of these old unopened alleyways, but it will certainly enable the residents to hook up for a lower cost because it'll be running right behind their septic tanks. And to do that, we'll likely be bringing a change order request to you at the November meeting. However, what we're looking at doing, and Charlie, I was going to talk to you about this, they have completed approximately half the contract at this point, maybe a little bit less. They're asking for the second half of the contract because they have unforeseens they're going to run into in some of these back alleyways to essentially convert that to a lump sum contract. If they end up going over, they take the loss, and if for whatever reason they came in under what the original price is, then they just sort of take the same lump sum. But we would have a committed date for completion of the project, and will enable them to get this done without continuing delays. That project it's been successful. We got 110 parcels with access to sewer now that previously did not, but we got about 300 more parcels that need access to sewer out there. So we haven't done a contract adjustment like this before, but it's something that the contractor presented to us, and we think may be a successful conclusion to the project.
But it's my understanding, some people have already tied on.
There have been people already tied on out there, yes, sir.
And one problem is the paving, getting the paving.
Getting the paving done right now. We phased the project at the request of Glynn County so that the entire neighborhood wasn't tore up in paving. So we're waiting on paving contractors to complete the portion that has already been installed, and then they'll move to the next phases. But good project, and hopefully we'll have it wrapped up here in the near future. The other thing, and I'll announce this yesterday, we were recognized again, and there will be a presentation to the commission in either November or December. Our distribution crews and systems will once again be receiving the GAWP Distribution Gold Award. This is the 4th year in a row we've got that award. And next year, assuming we get the The gold award, once again, will step up to the platinum award because apparently 5 golds is platinum, according to GAWP. But it's called the distribution award, but there's a lot that goes into that. It involves our water production crews, our distribution crews, our planning and construction crews for GIS and engineering practices, and even emergency management practices are all scored on that. So pretty much the entire organization impacts our ability to win that award, and it's a tremendous accomplishment for them to get that recognition. And then, other than that, Commissioner Stevens announced earlier this month that he will be leaving his seat on our board. And I just wanted to, in case this is his last meeting with us, I wanted to say thank you for your service to our community. You've been a tremendous help to staff during this time, and wish you the best of luck.
And just so y'all know, the reason I'm leaving the commission is I'm going to be relocating to another state. So it's not like I'm just resigning to get off the commission or something. I'm relocating outside of the area. And obviously, that triggers I'll no longer be a citizen of Glynn County. So therefore,
We'll still welcome you back if you want to visit.
I'm not actually moving until March-ish. Don't have an exact date yet, but because of the timing of the grand jury appointment for Ben's seat, which is expiring, I felt it'd be easier for the commission if y'all had 2 people applying at the same time versus having to wait till March and then try to scramble and put ads in the paper and go through the grand jury process and all. I just felt like it'd be easier for the commission while the grand jury was already going through those efforts to select 2 people.
We certainly appreciate all your contributions over the years. It's been very useful, very helpful.
Still mad we moved.
Chairman's update, we're gonna have 3 or 4 people up there getting that award at the Georgia Rural Water.
That's correct.
Up in Unicoi.
Yes, sir. Unicoi State Park.
And I'll be up there, so I'll try to take a picture of that presentation. I appreciate y'all's input on the project, and we'd hate to spend more money than we estimated it was gonna cost, but sometimes it's the way the market is right now, and it's a hard thing to swallow. But we do need to continue to improve our system, and that's what we're here for. So I appreciate everybody's input. Do we need an executive session? Motion to adjourn? Okay, yep.
I just have one thing I wanted to add, if I could. I mean, just kind of building on the reward thing you mentioned. I mentioned this at facilities yesterday, but we've had a lot of breaks of main pipes around the hospital due to the fiber running they're doing, and I think that's been all throughout the community. But anything around the hospital, I try to keep in tune to and try to find out what's going on. We've had a lot of floods and breaks around the community, and if you've never seen the response that our team does when there's a water break, it is impressive. I mean, those guys are out there, in a foot deep of water that's spread over 100 square yards of just where water flooding, but then they're having to dig into a hole that's the pipe's 5 foot deep and it's full of water, and they got pumps out there, but the pumps can't keep up with all the water. I mean, they're soaking wet, often reaching down under the water. They can't even see what they're doing, trying to get pipes on or clamps on pipes and stuff, trying to stop floods. I mean, it is impressive, and it is hard work, and it is it's like an army of ants out there when something happens. I mean, they pull up and there's no standing around lollygagging. They are out of the truck, in the hole, fixing pipes in a very nasty condition, sewage and water, very, very quickly. It's impressive if you've never seen it. I mean, those guys, it's really, really hard and difficult work that they're doing.
Thank you for that, sir. Yeah.
I just say that because, when you hear that they win an award or something for that, I mean, it's just, I think it speaks volumes for what they do.
Any other comments?
I do have a question. I've had a number of constituents, if you will, ask me about the CPALM's approval recently for some, I think they're going to be duplexes. And they're going to be accessed, and this may be a question for Todd, they're going to be accessed off of Frederica Road. There's a pond, there's a cemetery, and then, of course, there's a convenience store just to the north. The questions I've been getting are, how are we going to service their water and their sewer, and are we going to disturb anything else besides just having to remove the trees, and are they going to disturb anything else, having to, remove trees and...
Now, the engineering on the infrastructure is still underway. I believe they'll have an on-site pump station to pump out of that. Is that correct? Is that the current? I believe we'll have to have an on-site pump station. They will pump back out. Now, on the water side, we're working with that contractor right now to they're going to have to bring a larger diameter service across Frederica. It'll be an 8 or 12-inch service. I think it's an 8-inch service coming in there, which we will benefit from as well to get additional 8-inch services there. And we were talking about already with a current funded project bringing an 8-inch service across at North Windward, the northernmost point into Sea Palms. So instead of making 2 connections, we're going to make 1 connection and bring it down the edge of the right-of-way to North Windward. So we're going to jointly work on that project. We'll provide them with a pipe. They'll do the installations and everything like that to bring it across the road there, which will improve water looping in that area as well, because right now there's a 6-inch coming across the road, and that will improve pressures in Sea Palms and to the development. But and 50 Oaks as well. That'll loop the backside of 50 Oaks, the new development off of South Harrington there. So the gas station is also building a new one, right? Friendly Express is also building a new gas station in the area. So when we have these private development projects, obviously they have their interests, but we always try to take advantage and see where we can improve our system. And there's a lot of projects in that area, and we're getting a lot of benefits as a result by being able to connect some lines together that previously were not connected. So I don't expect, hopefully there's no impacts to anything else, but from the water and sewer perspective, it's pretty straightforward on site and then single connections out, and then we'll be able to loop some lines as a result.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Anybody else?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, motion is second. All in favor? We adjourn, thank you.
Andrew, or Todd, can you tell me what's going on with that project out on Canal?